Live with Jackie.
If you hear the turkey and or the chicken in the background, that's Jackie. Good evening or good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of African Americans Ain't Africans, the talk show that proves without a doubt the so-called African American didn't find their way to America in the trunk of a ship. I'm your host, the indigenous one. We're live from Atlanta today. So if you hear the chickens in the background, just know some food is being produced. Just want to welcome everybody joining us this afternoon. I'm going to give you a quick overview today of some things that you can look for when you're searching for your family or, trying to find out who you are. Some quick things that you can just look up. These are things that you can just pick up. Nobody has to tell you. You should be able to recognize them because there's a whole bunch of groups out there to take you off of who you are. And you got to hook up to the roots of yourself. You got to get to the root of it. And when you get to that point, you'll be like, damn, don't look at yourself as other people tell you to look at yourself. Look at yourself for who you are and what you are, who you come from, who the people are that produced you. It's more than just one. So find out about those people. Study, do a history lesson on yourself. Find out the history of yourself. Where do you come from? Where are all the stops that you stop at? Who are the people that produced you? So, we were talking. You're gonna have to mute it. This. So, one second, ladies and gentlemen, we're having some. Got it? Okay. I was talking earlier about when you go back looking at these documents, when you're really getting into your family, trying to find out who you are. See, African Americans don't do this. ADOS and all these other groups, Muslims, Christians, they don't do this. They do what those doctrines tell them to do. They don't listen to the voices they hear in their head. They're people calling their names. They don't listen to that. They're cut off from that. They don't know what it is. So, hopefully some of you guys do. And one of the things I want you to understand is when you go looking up this stuff, remember, they're speaking American English. What they learned when they got here from your ancestors, and Lisa's gonna blow you away with the stuff she shows you. Remember, those people were coming over here. So they learned a lot when they got here. They didn't have a governmental setup where they came from because they were under the rule of the king. Whatever the king said, they did. That's why they wanted to flee his ass. Right? That's how it goes, right? So when they got over here, they started learning things from the people here, how to set up governments, better ways to do business. Probably 90% of the stuff that you see today, it was already here and going. All they had to do was change the players, over all these years, just confuse you with all kind of word trickery, and we fell for it. Still falling for it. Won't even think. Well, what did my great grandmother call herself? What do they call themselves? I mean, since she did birth me, since I do come from that root, how did they see it? See, African Americans don't do that. Never. They do what they're told. So when you're looking at those documents, look at the spellings of the documents and think about how they spoke back then. If you listen to people from England, Scotland, Ireland, and different parts of the European landmass, they don't speak how we speak. They have a dialect that is all theirs, like we have them here. So when they came into America, remember, they're coming into. We're not going over there, they're coming in too. So they're going to have to adapt to the people here in order to fit in. You see Africans doing it now. Africans sound more like you than they sound like they mama, right? That's very important. These people are coming over to trying to sound like you. And one of the examples would be the just the English language that they put out 50 years ago. We've changed that by the words we use because they fit, they feel right for whatever situation you're in. So when you're looking for your people, remember that you're going to see words and phrases spelled different. And you're going to see when your people were writing it, that's why they call it American English. They cleaned up a whole bunch of that shit, how these people were speaking. Pay attention to that. Bibles. Look at how different Bibles, kings wrote their Bibles. They totally changed up the whole lexicon of the language with what they learned over here and how to write and how to spell and all that. Your people are responsible for that. But if you were taking a Norwegian cruise from Africa during that, you won't even notice. Somebody can just tell you anything and you'll be that. So just keep that in mind when you're doing genealogy or trying to find your family or trying to fit in, where you belong. The language, the words that are being changed. Remember, you didn't speak with the dialects that they have. And now they're coming over here speaking like you. And we're in a whole trick bag because we don't even try to understand it. So Lisa's going to get more into this. And I'm going to shut up and listen to her just like y'all do.
Alito, Aseo, Kayuk. All right. Am I echoing because of you? I don't know. Okay. So here's what we got. All right. So Northampton County. Accomack is really not where the Accomack Indians are. The Accomack Indians are actually in Northampton County, Virginia. A small portion are in Accomack County, but the entire peninsula, which is that area, the Eastern Shore, used to be Accomack and Anahonac, Accahonac rather, and so with the change of the name. That's how we have the Northampton is the lower portion, the upper portion is Accomack. All right, my point is this. Here's a book that gentleman wrote. It's Kirk Merriman. Okay, some of these things are not easy to find. You might not find it on Amazon. A lot of times, what you need to do to find books like this, and I'm sure this is not just unique to Virginia, but I must say Virginia has a lot of records. These things are available when you go to the little bookstores, into the little sales, and into the flea markets when you go to the towns. See, there are all, you may just be getting interested in genealogy, but there's always been a small group of people who have been interested in genealogy for the past 100 years or whatever, like myself, like 50 years well, I've been interested in genealogy for the past over 30 some years, right? Since the 80s. So, with that being the case, those people that are into genealogy, they have these books that they've compiled, lists from their research. A lot of people have done it. There's several people. Genealogy is very big in Virginia in general, but in particular on the Eastern Shore, there are several authors that do these compilations of information of the Eastern Shore. This one talks about the fact that there were over 10,000 names free people of color on the Eastern Shore. And they're saying free blacks, but we all know, all of us that actually do the research know that free people of color is what we were called, or free colored people. Okay, this one, I mean, it goes into details, and what it is basically is a compilation of court records, deeds being recorded, emancipations. Some of them are emancipations, and some of them let you know that the person was born free. And also the other people that they had in their households. Sometimes free people were living with another free person, and they had to record them in their taxables. And that's what these records actually present. They present this kind of information. All right. Son of Griffin, okay, and Southie, different names. When you go in a county and you start looking at family names, the names are going to differ as you go back in time. Like a lot of the people that were abundant in the 1700s are absent today. I know a lot of people. I know I have a friend of mine that's the last name Gaskin who lives in Florida, and I'm sure there are people who haven't lived in Virginia for a very long time. But at one time, especially in Accomack County, there was a predominance of Gaskins in listed as living here. So what happened? A lot of people migrate because of, it's an exodus. It's a terroristic exodus. A lot of the burnings, a lot of the daggone uh, the terroristic threats, the lynchings, cause people to actually leave their homeland and go to different areas, such as Florida, South Carolina, Georgia, even Alabama. You might not think that's a way, someplace you would run to, but you really run to where you know people. And if you have kin in those areas, it makes sense, regardless of what you might think about. Well, why would they run there? You got to understand, we ran where we had people. Okay, like for instance, in this one, which is Northampton County, there are no Gaskins listed here. But if you go to Accomack, the other book, can you get that? The other one? Yeah, that one. This one's huge. Accomack County, there's a lot of Gaskins in here. And a lot of other surnames that are, predominant. Like I said, some of these names are actually Accomack names, and some of those are Alcoholic names. The majority of the people that are in Accomack County are actually Alcoholic Indians. And those Indians organized themselves out of Maryland and have received recognition out of Maryland, which most historians disagree with, but they found evidence that the boundary lines of the Eastern Shore went all the way up to Maryland, so therefore, um, you know, whatever, it's right. Okay, so anyway, looking at that, so we were looking at these books, and I have a lot, and I don't even want to pull them all out. It's just a lot. But anyway, if you look at these books, this book is one done by the court clerk of Northampton, Tracy Johnson, along with Frances Biven Latimer, which she has passed on, and she's one of those local historians. She's a woman of color who actually, I hate that word, color when I said that. She's an Accomack Indian, really. She's an Accomack Indian that actually didn't know she was one, and she compiled all these different books. One of these being one of them that she worked on with the court clerk and other people, and she compiled information and records and took pictures of it. She even opened up her own printing press. She worked on her genealogy of her family. She compiled records for her family. And a lot of people think it's like all the indigenous people of the Eastern Shore, but I can tell you with a certainty, my people aren't in it. A lot of my relatives aren't in it, and a lot of her, even a lot of her relatives aren't in her works. She kind of focused on the people that she was closest to, the people that she knew, which is a lot, because if you have both parents on one side on in one particular county, that's a lot of people. So if you look at this writing, okay, this is penmanship, right? This is old school penmanship, supposed to be a deed that was made by the Okiwamp chief, which is our chief, given to Scarborough, Edmund Scarborough. Now, see, this is where it gets tricky. A lot of times, people assume that these English names that are here on the Eastern Shore are are Caucasian. But if you look in these records, even this book that I had here, this book here, you'll find a lot of people who wrote, who purchased, who so-called claimed to purchase things or got deeded things were actually melanated people. They were actually not at all Caucasian, but they were Negroid people. Some of them were just other Indians, actually. A lot of the court work that was going on was Indian to Indian. See, that's what you don't know. How much were we doing? How many times were we in the courts? And why? Why are we so comfortable with that if we're Indians living in longhouses, okay? The truth of the matter is that we had the structure here already. We already had a confederacy. We already had a constitution. We already had the Treaty of Peace. We had things already in place to work together. We had a system. These invaders didn't have that. They were running for money. They were people here for some enterprise, for to capitalize. They were pirateers and profiteers, okay? That's what they were. These people didn't know anything. Half of them didn't know how to even function on a boat, let alone how to camp, how to farm, how to take care of animals, how to build things, how to grow anything, how to create things, how to invent things. These people were city dwellers, and they lived in a city that was drowning financially, physically, morally. It was going down the tubes. And they were just escaping from Alcatraz, really. They were escaping people. So this deed, so-called, like this is the other thing. Do you believe deeds? I don't even know which ones to believe because I'm going to show you a real big difference. So this deed, it's saying from the chief, our chief king. And what date is it supposed to be? It doesn't say a date. Well, anyway, we don't know what date this is, which is very odd. But anyway, so on the deed book that this is in, which doesn't say where it came from, it should show the date, page, book number, what have you. But if you look at the print, the penmanship, that's what I want you to look at. How different it looks. The words, the lettering that was used was far different. Also, look at the signature of the chief. Now he did a mark. Now he actually used the hieroglyphic alphabet, the alphabet for his name. He didn't just put an X. So now you see all these deeds in the courthouse with the same doggone X for every signature, as if nobody had their own print, their own symbol. Well, the chief had one. Why would other people not have a symbol for themselves? Why would everybody's symbol be an X? And how is that even legal? How does that even stand up? Folks, it doesn't stand up. It makes no sense. And it's fraud. I have a deed here, part of the deed that I used in my case that was fraudulent. Now, this is the kind of penmanship that they're saying is from a deed that was written in 18. Let's see the exact date. November 1800, 1831. Okay. So understand this is right before the Nat Turner stuff and everything, right? That's around the same time as the Nat Turner stuff. Everybody's signing away their property, right? Yeah, okay, right. And the penmanship looks like this. I mean, like that. Okay, we going from this to that. You see what I mean? So this is the signature part. Let's see if I have an X mark. I have a lot of just random deeds that I had. I want to find one with the X signature. X. I don't want to mess up my stuff. I don't want to mess up my documents. Okay. Okay. We'll get back to it. I'll look again. I didn't bring my box in from outside. All right. So, with that being the case, they will put a tiny little X mark next to where the name was right here. And it would be written out just like this. Even if you look at these two signatures, these are supposed to be two separate people. You see how fraudulent this is? It's supposed to be two people signing. Look at the exact same penmanship. It's a fraud. I don't write just like Carrie Davis. Carrie Davis does not write just like his sister. This is the same penmanship. All of these deeds were reconstructed to just allow the people that live in the area to claim land that belongs to you. It's stolen. And they wanted to make it legit that they have it, so they constructed all this fake deedery. I made up a word, deedery. These fake deeds. You see? I mean, look, y'all. Look at this. This signature up top. Let me just I mean, you don't gotta be a genius to figure this out. You just gotta be vaguely observant. Okay. Look. You see that? Okay, that's two different signatures. Let's go to the next one. Those are the two other ones. How are they different? How are they different? We have been bamboozled. We have had our identity stolen. We've had our land stolen, and it didn't happen in the 1700s. They weren't even freaking here in 1600. It does. You know why I say that? Because of this. Free blacks. Let me go ahead and show y'all the name of the deed that I was just looking at. Just make it, keep it simple, keep it consistent. Okay, keep it consistent. Not hard. Very simple. All right. This is Otten. George F. Otten. And Anna S. Let's get it closer. Look up closer, Clump. Y'all see that? Okay. So look at this book. Grab it. Go to O. Just very simple. It's not hard. The information is all rolled out there for us to see. Genealogists have been interested in this forever. It's just now we can use it to unlock the keys of who we are, right? See, my story isn't that I knew anything about African Americans not being African. My story is a person that was into genealogy for a long time. I come from everything from a genealogy standpoint. So for me to be able to roll out who my people are and and then further, work on our rights is easy because the genealogy part has been long standing, something that I've been doing, right? A whole different mindset. I really wasn't a YouTube watcher. I really wasn't a fan of people that are talking about it on the internet. I was just into genealogy. Every winter, I spent the winter months straight doing genealogy. That was my pastime. During the summer, it's not as busy, but this definitely was a major pastime since I was about 20, 19 even. All right, so here we go. Look at y'all. Top of the page, okay? Top of the page. It ain't hard. They want you to think it's hard. It's not. Otten. What is Otten doing in? I'm just basic. What is Otten doing here? What is Otten doing here? And if you want to say Otten is named Otten, because they took on their master's name, baby, no. Because you'll see it. Like I was just talking to a person asking me about her genealogy and why their whole last name of everybody that had one last name changed to another last name. Why did that happen? Because probably somebody said, don't you use that name no more. Because they were taking your last name, right? Europeans were coming and taking your last name to take your land. So they made you change your name. Because in reality, a slave master is not going to let his people that are slaves take his last name. Why? Because you can claim his land. Honey, this is a deed. If I'm a black Otten, I'm kin. But the reality is, this Otten was a Negro. This Otten was an Indian. He wasn't a European Caucasian. Okay, so you got a whole page full of Ottens. A whole doggone page. Not just one page. That's a nook. Oh, nooks are still around. It's a whole page. And there was a page and a half. A page and a half. Because it continues on the next page. Okay? Ottens. Not. So who are really these people? And who are these people pretending to be? See, I would tell you that these people who came along in the 1900s after Plecker, right? After Plecker changed your race, these people came back and changed your property, right? But what they neglected in knowing is that the people that they turned themselves into, the names that they assumed relationship to, were actually not them either. So if you claim you're kin to Otten, oh, I'm an Otten because I'm a savage, and a savage married an Otten, but the savages were us. Well, I'm an Otten because I'm a Scarborough, and a Scarborough married the Ottens. No, the Ottens are us. So where do you actually assume this property? Except by faking that you're us. There was no real transfer from indigenous to Caucasian. It never happened. All they did was squat on your land, and then they forged paperwork to try to be us. That's what they did. So when you're looking for this kind of thing, you have to understand that these abstracts, things like this, and also Carter G. Woodson, because Carter G. Woodson has Negro history, and he has compilations of information telling you about free Negroes and all that kind of thing. These things are invaluable. The Free African Americans.com website, which used to be Free People of Color or Free, yeah, it was used to be called Free People of Color, but I guess he got pressured to change it to African American because, they want to keep us all thinking that we're from Africa. Meanwhile, the Africans come here and pretend to be you and try to take your land too. Anyway, what you need to do is make sure that we look for these kind of things. Oh, Carter G. Woodson, that's that. What's that? That's the organization. The Association for the Study of Afro-American Life and History. I don't know if they changed it to African American, but it's actually the Association for Afro. Afro is different. You can go with Afro because that distinguishes us. Afro-American talks about our hair, right? So that's righteous. That kind of works. And then a picture of the Carter G. Woodson Center here. Okay, it's in the book that I got this from auction. Now you can find a lot of these things on eBay. You can find a lot of these things on antique websites for books. You can find a lot of these things by going to flea markets in your area, flea markets where you live, flea markets, when you're traveling, just yard sales. A lot of these people got this stuff in your house. They have our artifacts and our information in their homes. You just got to go to these homes, go to these yard sales, and you'll find a lot of what and who we are. And that's an important mechanism for us to use too. But it's important for us to realize that we need to look at what is obviously there put before us. The obvious fraud, the obvious change of names. I mean, you don't have all these people. We're just talking about 2 small counties, very small place in this entire map, right? But all these people are us, and they're free. Now you got the FBAs. What is the FBA? A free, what is it? A foundational black? Black has no standing. I could probably do a compilation of about 100 videos of people of various races, white, Pakistani, uh, Hispanic, Italian, people telling us that black that is a slave status or has no status. However, we have these people called black media people who are still pushing black. Why? Why do they pepper their stories with a lot of truth and a lot of good information, but they persist on keeping you in the matrix of being black? They seduce you with facts. They seduce you with information that's actually real, actually valuable, commentary that actually makes sense. But then they still keep you in slave status. Why? How are they really for the good? How are they really giving you good information if the most paramount information that you need to change what they're doing to us is to change your identity from the false identity of Black, African American, FBA, or whatever else, freedmen? We cannot continue to use these titles, freedmen, foundational Black. What is a foundation? Well, you are building? What do you think, Carrie? It's crazy.
You. As long as we're confused, other people can get over on us. It's just that simple. Now, I'm not talking to people who think they Christians, Muslim, Greeks, all that. You guys go ahead and push those doctrines among your people. You can see what's happening to those groups now. You indigenous to this place, you better wake up and recognize and get on your job, because these people are coming over trying to take your shit. And we gonna look stupid as hell when what happened to the Indians of America? You're gonna have a real dumb look on your face by not being able to explain it when you're the one who let it happen. So keep that in mind. I mean, the world, we're a joke. I mean, go to some of these other groups, these other social medias. You're the main point of conversation. All they do is talk about you. All of them. They have nothing. That's the fire you put out. They have to talk because that's where they're at. They're not in India with all their people. They're here with you. And when you hear what the Negro, the African American, Black people are talking, you talking the language that these people want to hear you speak. So this is not for the people who you believe that you all this shit. This is for the kids who's coming up, because y'all gonna see it, because these monkeys have taught you nothing. These are for the 10, 11, 12-year-olds who don't even understand yet. Because all these cats, they just done dogged you out, ain't told you nothing, ain't thought about nothing. That's most of the African Americans that's walking around today. They don't even connect with what Lisa's showing you. They don't even get it. That's their people's writing, but they've been they're Black, Negro, African American, colored, Greek, Hebrew, Israelite. They done cut themselves off from this right here. And this is you. This is what they cut you off from. So ask all them cats when you talk to them. Ask all of them, all them. Where are they from? How come you're not in Hebrewville talking about this? How come you're not in Africa saying all this stuff? Africans wouldn't even have them. That's how much they respect them. You talking African stuff here. Why don't you talk that shit in Africa, nigga? This is the shit we do and wonder why we lose. So, to the people who are not understanding you, do some genealogy on your family. Find out who you are. This sister right here show you every weekend when we get on. Damn. And all you got to do is think about it. Think. That's all you have to do. Just think about it. Okay, Lise?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of little things you get a lot of information from even getting little things like this, calendars of history in Cape Charles, Virginia. These kind of sources, you may not think anything of it. You see it at, a flea market or someplace or online or some little thing being sold. But I have gotten the biggest gems of information in history from pieces like this that I never would have had if I didn't really pick this thing up. Also, let's see another one. Old maps. This is a map this is an old map of the Bronx, actually, but it's funny because my family moved from Virginia to the Bronx. This is an old 50 cents map of the Bronx. Kind of give you an idea of some things. Long Island. My family moved to Long Island. An old map of Long Island. Old map of where you were at. Old map of where you come from. How about an old certificate of marriage from my Smith side of family? Old birth certificate, right? Those kind of things that give you those kind of information and insight into your family. Collect these little pieces. A little guide, like a tour guide. A lot of times, these little tour guide things about your homeland will tell you so much about your history. Little stories that really are very impactful to you. This is a really good book that has a history of the Eastern Shore area, My Own Ground, Race and Freedom on Virginia's Eastern Shore, 1640 to 1676. Okay, so this kind of stuff. I mean, don't neglect the little things. I have all these things in a little plastic bag. These are just like my little pamphlets, but these are more important to me than a lot of other things. Also, don't neglect this. What is this? Funeral program. You go to some of your relatives' house, and when the old folks pass, just ask to go through their drawers. But don't even ask to go to their drawers. Just ask for these things. I guarantee they got drawers full of this. Drawers full of your family. Drawers full of your history. Reunion 203. Keep reunion stuff. And ask the kids, maybe the people that used to organize reunions passed away. But I bet you anything that their mama or their auntie has like these leftover information that they used to organize these reunions with, that they used to organize a genealogy with. It's a cousin that lived in Long Island. How about this? Okay. So I mean, these things there's this in the words that are written in these. When my dad passed, that's what I wanted. I wanted all of this, all of his daggone funeral programs, because that is key to the genealogy. Having these funeral programs are key. These are major things. Death certificates, birth certificates, and funeral programs. These are big things. We need to hold on to these things. Precious letters. Go through old letters. Go and find old letters because we don't write letters anymore. And what I'm going to encourage everybody to do is let's start writing letters to each other. Let's write letters because letters are wonderful records. You'll talk about what you're doing. You'll talk about where you're at. It records your space and time as it is. What's going on? Oh, I'm good. Oh, what happened? oh, Carrie came to visit and we went here and this happened, and the weather was fine, and and then Jackie the duck is acting crazy and the geese haven't laid their eggs, but they haven't hatched yet. Stuff like that. It marks time for you, right? Don't neglect this. I can't even, one day I'll really just bring everything out so you can kind of see a lot of what I collect. But I have a lot of very old books and I haven't taken enough allergy pills for me to be able to deal with that right now. But a lot of them are old and dusty and a little moldy. So I have to make sure I'm medicated. I can deal with it because, they really make me allergic. But the thing is invaluable. I have a lot of different lighted microscopes so I can see some of the print well and things like this. I have really old stuff. Yeah. So and they're and because of this, I was able to find out things. For instance, I was able to find out that there was a queen on the Eastern Shore who didn't know she was queen, or maybe she had heard but didn't become queen, a Indian queen, an Accomack queen or Akahana. Anyway, what happened was some guy named Johnson, again, Johnson, not a European name. The Johnsons were abundant, especially in the 1600s on the Eastern Shore. Again, names changed throughout time. You marry these Johnsons, the Johnsons then marry into another name, names change. Predominantly on the Eastern Shore in the 1600s were Johnsons. There were a lot of Johnsons. Anyway, this Johnson presumed that he was king and had taken over the role of king. And the people weren't listening to him. So he goes to court. Now, in the 1600s, the peasants of Europe were not accustomed to just going to court with their grievances. This obviously should tell us that this is an indigenous practice. So, the Anthony Johnson story, first they tried to say he's African, right? But he amassed all this money in a very short amount of time. He amassed his freedom of his wife, freedom of his sons, and all this land, and was the wealthiest person in the Eastern Shore. You don't do that as an immigrant. No. The immigrants that first came to our continent starved, died. They didn't amass great wealth on jump. That's not realistic. The Anthony Johnson story is twisted because if you knew the truth about it, it changes your perspective on it. It changes your whole mindset. Where's the slaves? What were we really doing? How were we really living? So this is the thing. Anthony Johnson was a Johnson. There are many Johnsons, so many Johnsons on the Eastern Shore that one of his court cases is against a Johnson as well. He had a court case against another Johnson. Okay? Now, this case that I'm talking about with the Queen, that was another Johnson as well. Her name happened to be Mary, which was Johnson's wife's name. Now, I will tell you that first names are very common. Like a lot of Henrys, there'll be a lot of Marys during a certain times and periods. That's not unusual. Is it the same person? I doubt it. Different time frame. However, this Mary, this other Johnson, he was claiming to be king of the Indians, and the people weren't having it. They pretty much were mutinying against him. They were rebelling. So he went to court because he was kind of complaining like a big old baby because nobody would listen to him. So then the court said, nah, we gotta have to look into this. So I hear that there's this thought that Mary should be queen over this land. So they brought Mary in, they brought him in, and they did the investigation. They come to find out that Mary was absolutely supposed to be sovereign. So he was taken down and she was placed up as the empress or queen. So this is the thing. There's these unknown stories. I would not have known about that story had I not just bought this random old book. How do I decide which books to get? I can tell you that. Okay, this book is not an old book. Book was actually written in 1900, which I consider questionable because after 1850, a lot of lies were being told, right? When the Europeans, after the Civil War, it was all about stealing our land and about taking over our country. That was the real takeover. The Civil War was the takeover. We were the majority of the farmers. We were the majority of the landowners, even over to the early 1900s. So everything from 1850 on was about changing that. Anyway, what happens? What do I do with a book that's written in 1900? But oh my God, it's called this. Accomack, Eastern Shore, Virginia. Oh my God, I cannot ignore this information. But guess what? At the bottom of every page are all these citations, all these records, all these references. And that's where I hunt. That's what I look for. All those books that are listed in here, I try to buy or at least find. I mean, I don't do a lot of the downloading like a lot of people do because I feel like as a people, as being academics, we need to own the stuff. We can't just have files. We got to have the actual. So I make it a point of buying it whenever I can, if I can, and looking until I can find a good sale or a good price or somebody. Right now, they know what we're looking for, so a lot of things are very expensive. 5 years ago, you could get some things and not be like totally, you know, paying too much. But when you look at these references, then you find out, where did you get this information? What's your source for knowing this about the Indians? How do you know about this land? What did you go to? And that is the best way for you to figure out what books you really want to use. Because a lot of times people quote things written in the 1900s, the 2000s. Baby, that's a person's opinion. You can't hinge your history on someone's opinion, right? You got to go to the least corrupted sources, right? And in my opinion, the further you go back, that's going to be the less corrupted. Because odds are you wrote this stuff. Odds, because the majority of people that were doing things in the early 16 and 1700s were us. They show you pictures of all these revolutionary soldiers that are them. Don't believe that. We're the majority of the people that was here during that time, that fought during that time, and that were here during that time. That's what we need to understand. We need to understand that our fashion was, just like today, we influenced the world fashion. We influenced the world fashion then. These dresses with the big bustles in the bottom, those bustles are our booties. Our booties, we wore the dresses and the booties poked out, and it looked better. So then they were like, shoot, we gotta have to make an artificial booty and put a daggone a big skirt underneath our dresses, right? A bustle to create a booty, right? So I mean, you gotta understand that the things that they told us, you just gotta filter through the lies and understand that we have been doing and contributing to this planet forever. And being primitive was something that we were not. Being nice and welcoming was a problem. Our good temperament, our being great hostesses, our being very giving, loving, and caring, that was our downfall. It was not that we were primitives that they could just walk over. It was that we were um, trusting. We thought that people had our ethics, which I'm going to go back to ethics again. Like I talked about ethics the other day. Ethics is something that is very rare. We used to be abundantly ethical. We cared about our families. We cared about each other. We shared. We had the storehouse. Now we gotten all selfish because the Caucasians do is create a sense of lack. Woo, everything scarce is gonna run out. You're gonna run out of food. Now they try to talk about the storehouses, baby. Get your garden right. Do you have to have a garden? There's food to eat all around. You just don't know it. You see the damn deer eat? Are the squirrels starving? Have you seen a fat daggone groundhog? What the hell they eating? Because they are fat as hell. So, I mean, there's plenty of food. We are just because you're not aware of it, doesn't mean there's not. And there's nothing wrong with fasting for a few months. You ain't gonna die. You're not gonna die. But you see, that's their mentality. They create trouble. They want you to be in fear. They want you to worry. You mean to tell me I'm supposed to be worried that if a factory shuts down that processes food, I'm gonna be in trouble? Damn, that's gonna save my life. Let the factory burn down. These factories are building things that's killing you. Thank God they're burning the fuck down. Why are you worried about food factories that are shutting down? Those things are garbage. They're garbage. Thank God. Let them burn. Burn all the factories down. We don't need those things. Those things are trash. They're feeding us pure trash. There's nothing that is going to nourish you in those factories. Do not be worried. Do not be concerned. Do not get in a panic over all these stories of, oh, there's not going to be gas and there's not going to be food. Don't do that. Don't let them do that to us. We are better than that. Do not believe these stories. Do not worry about these stories. What you believe is what will be. So that if you believe that you're going to starve, then you're going to starve. If you believe that there's nothing out there for you, you ain't going to see what's right at your foot, right underneath your foot, literally. Literally. Baby, we can cook. We can make something, anything taste good. So what are you worried about? Sunshine and water. Filters can be made very simply out of just coal. All you got to do is burn some wood and filter your water through it. That purifies it. What is so hard? It can be hard or it can be easy. It can be hidden or it can be obvious. It's all in how you choose to see it. People want to call you black. You ain't black. People want to keep you out of your identity. Cassius Clay said, I'm not Cassius Clay. I'm Muhammad Ali. Nigga, them Clays probably own so much land. Them Clays probably have so much. But he want to be Muhammad Ali. We changing our names. To this day, we got them Europeans, Black Europeans, white, Caucasian, these Europeans telling you got to change your identity, change your name, do all these things, turn around 3 times, authenticate your birth certificate, all these dumb things they're telling you to do to change your identity. When all you have to really do is figure out who you really be and be that. Don't change your name, because your name, boo, is the link. Your name is the key to your inheritance. You change your name and you all disconnected. Now you got to prove that you are who you are. You just made it harder for yourself. You changed it to a national and you trying to claim state things in America. You're trying to claim American land and you done turn into some kind of national. You can't claim nothing. These people are set up to deceive you on purpose. They are financed to deceive you on purpose. They're here to distract you on purpose. Can you see that? If they're not doing anything that's real, if they're not giving you anything you can actually use in your material life today, what are you listening to? Why are they telling you about land patents without telling you to go get with your family? They should be telling you to get with your family, because you go get a land patent and don't include your family, you just made a whole lot of enemies. You got to get organized as a people. You got to get organized into your nations. Making up fake Indian names are just social clubs. They do not get you freedom, they don't give you rights, and they don't give you a new identity. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money on these people that are trying to deceive you. We've been deceived enough. We cannot continue to let our own people deceive us. What you got to say, Carrie?
Somebody turn to your neighbor. This is so simple, y'all. It's simple.
Oh,
Listen, just go over this past hour. Take out some of the main topics that she said and use them for yourself, your benefit. You will be amazed. And I don't have nothing to say because she said it all. So I'm gonna let her close us out. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm out of here. The next time I talk to you, it'll be from California. You guys have a good night.
yes, I will just close by letting you guys know that, yeah, these people have good information as far as just they sound intellectual and they're talking about topical things that are going on in politics and in the news, but they're still calling you black or foundational or freedman when you're not. And none of those things are going to get you closer to claiming your inheritance and your actual identity. The only key that you have to your real identity is within your families. And the only way, the best way to figure out who you are is by talking to your families and visiting your homeland and getting those records and books and information that's locally produced and locally available in that land. Make a road trip, take a plane trip. You don't have to wear a mask anymore. Let's not even talk about that. And you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I want you to, like I said, do these things. Look, don't miss Carter G. Woodson. He got a lot for you. Don't miss out on the free AfricanAmericans.com website. They have listings from court records that talk about you and that you're free. Okay? And don't miss out on these books that are produced by genealogists and just these local people, historians and tour people that are going to talk about your families. And don't miss out on the newspapers. Have a good one. Hmm? Oh, yeah, and start looking out for the Akamak channel. We're gonna start producing some things. I did a couple of videos years ago, but we may put out some things because we get closer to doing our being involved in our lawsuit and different efforts we have against and fighting, not against, but to get our rights and to get our benefits that we justly deserve. We're gonna be broadcasting more from the Akamak Indian channel. So you guys have a good one.